Welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're going deep on legendary marketing text Eugene Schwartz's Breakthrough Advertising.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
This book is like a treasure map, for crafting messages that really stick with people, resonate with them.
Mm-hmm.
It was originally published way back in 1966 and then kind of vanished for years, only to reemerge recently with used copies selling for over $900.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that should tell you something right there.
Yeah, it's fascinating how it's captured people's imagination. It's not just about writing ads, it's
Yeah.
about understanding human psychology and identifying those deep-seated desires, that drive our actions, and then crafting messages that tap into that raw energy.
So it's like a secret decoder ring for human behavior.
Exactly. Schwartz gives us this incredibly insightful framework for understanding how to connect with people on a deep, almost primal level. He
Okay.
calls it mass desire, and it's not about creating desires, out of thin air. It's
Yeah.
about recognizing the desires that already exist within us for security, for belonging, for status, for love,
Mm-hmm.
and then positioning your product or service as a way to fulfill those desires.
And we're not inventing needs, we're tapping into existing ones.
Yeah.
What are some examples of these mass desires that have kind of stood the test of time?
Well, think about the desire to be attractive.
Okay.
That's a powerful force that's been driving human behavior for centuries.
Yeah.
It's not just about vanity. It's about our innate need to be accepted, to find a mate, to feel confident in ourselves.
Right.
Schwartz argues that this desire is as potent today as it was 1,000 years ago.
That makes sense. We're all wired for connection and belonging.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other examples of these kind of enduring mass desires?
Well, the desire for health and well-being is another big one.
Okay.
We all want to feel good to live long, healthy lives.
Right.
This desire fuels the entire health and wellness industry, from gyms and fitness trackers to supplements and organic foods.
And let's not forget the desire for convenience and ease.
Absolutely.
We're all looking for ways to make our lives simpler, less stressful.
That desire drives innovation in so many areas, from home appliances and meal delivery services to ride-sharing apps and online shopping.
Yeah.
We're constantly seeking ways to streamline our lives and free up more time and energy.
It's fascinating how these desires shape our choices and behaviors in so many ways. But how do we, as marketers or communicators, actually harness these mass desires to craft effective messages?
That's where Schwartz's genius really shines. He gives us a set of powerful techniques for amplifying these desires and connecting them to our products or services.
Okay.
He emphasizes that you can't just slap any message on top of a mass desire and expect it to work. You have to understand the nuances, the specific anxieties and aspirations that fuel those desires.
So it's about finding the right emotional hook, the specific way to connect with that desire in a way that resonates with your audience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he stresses the importance of being aware of your audience's state of awareness. He argues that people exist in different stages of awareness when it comes to their desires and problems. Some people may be completely unaware of a desire or problem, while others may be acutely aware of it and actively seeking solutions.
Okay, so you can't just hit everyone with the same message. You have to tailor your approach based on where they are in their awareness journey.
Precisely. Imagine you're selling a new sleep tracking device.
Okay.
Someone who's blissfully unaware of their sleep problems might not even be interested.
Right.
But someone who's struggling with insomnia and desperately searching for solutions, they're primed and ready for your message.
So how do you actually target these different levels of awareness? What does that look like in practice?
Schwartz provides some brilliant examples.
Okay.
He points to a classic ad. Do you make these mistakes in English?
Okay.
It immediately targets people already aware of a problem, making them feel seen and understood. Then you have headlines like, Why Men Crack, which aim to tap into deeper, perhaps even unacknowledged anxieties. It's a bolder approach, aiming to awaken a dormant desire or problem, and then position your product as the solution.
That's clever. It's like planting a seed of awareness and then nurturing it with a compelling message.
Exactly. And it's not just about targeting different levels of awareness within the market. It's also about recognizing that the market itself evolves over time.
Okay.
Schwartz introduces this concept of market sophistication.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about market sophistication. What does that mean exactly?
He breaks it down into 5 stages. Think about the early days of a new product category, say the first personal computers.
Okay.
That's a stage 1 market. People are just becoming aware of this new technology and its potential. Your messaging can be simple, focusing on the basic promise of the product.
So it's all about education and introducing the concept.
Right. But as the market matures, so do the consumers. They
Mm-hmm.
become more knowledgeable and more discerning. Now they want to know, how does this product compare to others? What are the specific benefits?
Okay.
That's when you move into stage 2 and beyond.
So the marketing message has to evolve along with the market's understanding.
Exactly. And that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Schwartz argues that as the market becomes more sophisticated, you have to up your game.
Hmm.
You have to provide proof to differentiate yourself from the competition and address their skepticism. Think about the evolution of smartphone ads.
Right.
They've gone from highlighting basic features to showcasing incredible camera capabilities, processing power, and sleek design.
It's like a constant arms race to stay ahead of the consumer's evolving expectations.
Precisely. And Schwartz provides a toolkit for navigating this ever-changing landscape. He outlines 7 key techniques that can be applied to magnify desire, build conviction, and ultimately drive action.
Okay.
He calls them the 7 techniques of breakthrough advertising.
Okay. I'm hooked.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it gets really interesting. What are these breakthrough advertising techniques?
Yeah.
What's in Schwartz's arsenal?
Well, we've already touched on a few of them without even realizing it.
Perhaps-
Remember when we talked about how different ads target different levels of awareness?
This.
That's one technique, understanding your audience's state of mind and crafting your message accordingly. Another technique is called intensification.
Okay.
And it's all about amplifying your claims, making them more vivid, more believable, more emotionally engaging.
It sounds like turning up the volume on your message, making it impossible to ignore.
Exactly. And he provides some really creative ways to do this. One technique is detailing every aspect of your product or the solution it offers.
Mhm.
He uses the example of a rose ad that describes in detail the vibrant colors, the fragrance, the sheer abundance of blooms, painting a picture that goes beyond simple facts.
So it's about making people feel the benefits, not just understand them intellectually.
Exactly. It's about tapping into their senses, their emotions, their aspirations. Another technique is to put your claims into action, showing the reader how to test them or demonstrating the benefits over an extended period.
Okay.
Think about a weight loss ad that shows someone shrinking over time week by week.
Right.
It makes the results more tangible and believable.
It's like taking something static and making it dynamic.
Precisely. And Schwartz is a master of using vivid imagery, metaphors, and analogies to add that extra layer of impact.
Yeah.
Remember that rose ad we talked about?
Yes.
The headline reads, "More roses than you ever saw on any rose bush." It immediately grabs your attention and creates a sense of abundance.
That's a great example. It's not just stating a fact, it's creating an experience in the reader's mind.
And that's the power of intensification.
Mhm.
It's about taking your message beyond the realm of logic and reason and into the realm of emotion and desire. It's about making people feel something. But intensifying your message is just one tool in Schwartz's arsenal. Remember, he gives us 7 techniques,
Right.
and each one offers a unique way to connect with your audience. Another fascinating technique is identification. This is where psychology really comes into play.
I'm all ears. How do we use identification to make our messages more persuasive?
It's all about tapping into those roles people want to play in life, their aspirations, their desired image. You're essentially turning your product into a tool for achieving those roles or an acknowledgement that they've already achieved them.
So it's not just about the product itself, it's about the identity. It represents the kind of person you become by using it.
Exactly. Think about luxury cars. People don't just buy them for transportation, they buy them to feel successful, sophisticated, even a little rebellious. They're buying into an image, a feeling, a sense of belonging to a certain tribe.
It's like they're saying, I'm the kind of person who drives this kind of car. But how do we actually build those character and achievement roles into our messaging?
Schwartz says the first step is to identify the primary image your product already has. Let's say you're selling a high-end coffee maker. What kind of image does that conjure up?
I'm picturing someone who appreciates the finer things in life, someone who takes their coffee seriously.
Exactly. So you could build on that image by emphasizing the craftsmanship of the coffee maker, the precision engineering, the ability to extract the perfect flavor from those exotic beans.
So you're tapping into their desire for a luxurious, elevated coffee experience.
Right, but you can also go deeper, tapping into those achievement roles. You could highlight how this coffee maker saves them time, allowing them to focus on what really matters, their work, their passions, their relationships.
It's not just about enjoying a good cup of coffee, it's about becoming a more productive, successful person.
Exactly. And that's the power of identification. You're not just selling a product, you're selling a better version of themselves.
This is fascinating. But what if the primary image of a product doesn't quite fit the message you're trying to convey?
But that's where you get creative. You can either intensify the existing image or tone it down depending on your goals. Think about Marlboro cigarettes. They took that existing image of masculinity and amplified it with their iconic cowboy imagery, creating a whole world around the product.
That's a great example of how you can reshape an existing image to create something new and powerful.
Exactly. But there are limits, of course. Schwartz warns against using unbelievable images, things people just can't relate to. He gives the example of a deodorant soap campaign that tried to target the mass market with an elite, high society image. It backfired because people couldn't connect with it.
It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. The message has to feel authentic to the audience, not forced or contrived.
Precisely. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about gradualization. This technique is all about making bold claims believable by building a step-by-step case.
So instead of hitting people with a big promise right away, you're easing them into it, guiding them along the path to belief.
Exactly. You're laying the groundwork, establishing credibility, and leading the reader to your conclusion organically. Schwartz gives a great example of a TV repair book ad that starts by asking questions about common TV problems, then introduces expert opinions, slowly building trust, and leading the reader to the solution. Buying the book.
It's like building a bridge of belief one step at a time. Does gradualization always have to be about making a big claim, though?
Not necessarily. Schwartz points out that it can also be used to justify price cuts.
That's interesting. So instead of just saying 50% off, you're explaining the reasons behind the discount, making it more believable and appealing.
Exactly. You're giving them a logical progression, a reason to believe that this price cut is genuine and not some marketing gimmick. It's all about building that trust and transparency.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I'm curious about this technique called camouflage. It sounds almost deceptive.
It's not about being deceptive at all. It's about borrowing credibility by mimicking the style and format of trusted media.
So it's about making your ad feel less like an ad and more like something people are already comfortable with.
Precisely. Think about those native ads you see online, the ones that blend seamlessly into the content you're reading. They're using camouflage to slip past your defenses and deliver their message in a more subtle, less intrusive way.
So it's like speaking the language of the audience, meeting them where they are.
Right, and it can be incredibly effective. A great example Schwartz gives is an ad adapted for the Wall Street Journal. The original ad was pretty flashy, but the adapted version used a classic understated format to match the publication style, instantly boosting its credibility.
It's like wearing a disguise to gain access to a secret club. You're adapting your message to fit the environment.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that advertising isn't just about shouting your message from the rooftops. Sometimes a more subtle, nuanced approach can be far more effective.
Okay, so we've covered intensification, identification, gradualization, and camouflage. There are 3 more techniques in Schwartz's toolbox. I'm eager to hear about the rest, but before we move on, I want to go back to something you said earlier about how these mass desires are shaped by larger forces, things like technology, social trends, and economic shifts.
Absolutely. That's a crucial piece of the puzzle. These desires don't exist in a vacuum. They're constantly being shaped and reshaped by the world around us.
So it's not enough to just understand the desires themselves. We have to understand the forces that influence them.
Precisely. Think about the rise of social media. It's not just a technology. It's a cultural phenomenon that has drastically changed how we interact, how we consume information, even how we see ourselves. It's created entirely new mass desires.
Like the desire to connect with others online, to share our experiences, to build a personal brand.
Exactly. And those desires have fueled the growth of entire industries. Then you have economic forces. Think about the rise of the middle class in developing countries.
That creates a whole new segment of consumers with new desires and purchasing power.
Exactly. So to really master breakthrough advertising, you have to be attuned to these larger forces that shape mass desire. You have to be a student of culture, of technology, of the world around you.
That's a great takeaway. It's not just about writing clever copy. It's about understanding the human condition, the forces that drive our behavior, the desires that shape our choices.
Precisely. And I think that's what makes Schwartz's book so timeless. It's not just a marketing manual, it's a window into human psychology.
It's like a secret decoder ring for human behavior, helping us understand not just what people want, but why they want it. Okay, I'm ready to dive back into those techniques. What other gems has Schwartz hidden in his toolbox?
Well, let's talk about mechanization. This technique's all about pulling back the curtain and showing how your product works. It's about providing those nuts and bolts details that build credibility and quell skepticism.
So it's not enough to just say it works. You have
Yes.
to explain the why and the how.
Exactly, especially when you're dealing with new products or innovations that people might be unfamiliar with. Like
Right.
if you're introducing a revolutionary new type of engine, you can't just say it's more powerful and efficient.
Mm-hmm.
You have to explain the mechanics behind it, the science that makes it possible.
It's like giving people a glimpse into the inner workings, making the magic feel real.
Precisely. And Schwartz provides a great example with an ad for a soap that claimed to make clothes cleaner. The ad went beyond simply stating the claim.
Okay.
It explained how the soap's unique sudsing action lifted dirt and stains away even in hard water.
Interesting.
It made the cleaning process tangible and believable.
It's like giving people an X-ray vision into the product, showing them how it achieves those amazing results.
Exactly. And Schwartz emphasizes that the level of mechanization you need depends on your audience and their level of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
If they're already familiar with how something works, a simple explanation might suffice.
Right.
But if you're dealing with a complex or unfamiliar concept, you need to go deeper, break it down, and make it accessible.
So it's about meeting your audience where they are providing the right level of detail to satisfy their curiosity and build their confidence.
Precisely. Now let's move on to concentration. This technique takes a different approach. It's about shining a light on the weaknesses of your competition and positioning your product as the superior alternative.
Okay, so it's a more direct approach, a head-to-head comparison that highlights the advantages of your product.
Yes, but Schwartz cautions against simply attacking your competitors.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about mudslinging or negativity. It's about showcasing how your product solves the problems that theirs create.
It's like a strategic takedown, highlighting their shortcomings while simultaneously showcasing your strengths.
Exactly. And he provides a brilliant example of that spark plug ad we talked about earlier. The copy systematically compares the weaknesses of traditional spark plugs with the advantages of the new fire injectors, point by point. It's a clear, compelling case for why their product is the better choice.
So it's not just saying we're better, it's providing a detailed analysis of WHY and how you're better.
Right, and by contrasting the two, you're not only highlighting your product's strengths, but also reinforcing the negative aspects of the competition in the reader's mind.
It's a powerful way to create a clear distinction in the consumer's mind and position your product as the obvious solution.
Exactly. And finally, we come to the seventh technique, camouflage. We've already touched on this one, but it's worth revisiting. It's all about borrowing credibility by mimicking the style and format of trusted media.
Right, like adapting your message to fit the tone and style of the Wall Street Journal, as we discussed earlier. It's about blending and flying under the radar and delivering your message in a way that feels familiar and trustworthy.
Precisely. It's about understanding the subtle cues and expectations that people have for different types of media and then tailoring your message accordingly. It's a way of making your message feel less like a sales pitch and more like a valuable piece of information.
It's like speaking the language of your audience using their dialect to connect with them on a deeper level.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that successful advertising is about more than just crafting clever slogans or eye-catching visuals. It's about understanding the psychology of your audience, anticipating their reactions, and meeting them where they are.
So breakthrough advertising is less about manipulation and more about understanding connection and persuasion. It's about tapping into those deep-seated desires that drive human behavior and using those insights to craft messages that truly resonate.
Well said. And I think what's so remarkable about Schwartz's book is that it's not just about advertising. The principles he outlines can be applied to any form of communication, from writing a compelling email to delivering a persuasive presentation.
That's a great point. It's about understanding how to connect with people on a deeper level, how to tap into their motivations and aspirations, and how to craft messages that move them to action.
Exactly. It's about becoming a master communicator, a persuader, an influencer.
Right.
And I think that's a skill that's more valuable today than ever before.
I completely agree. This deep dive into breakthrough advertising has been incredibly insightful. It's given me a whole new appreciation for the power of language, the nuances of persuasion, and the importance of understanding your audience.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
And to our listeners, I challenge you to look at the ads and messages you encounter in your own lives with a more discerning eye. Start noticing how those principles of mass desire awareness and persuasion are being used all around you. You might be surprised at what you discover. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.